Hi, welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. Today I'm talking about a few yarns that I've been using and loving since October, November last year. Hi, welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. And today I am talking about a few yarns that I started knitting with in October, November, in the autumn last year. I've been using over the winter and the spring, and I think I will be using them again a lot over this winter coming up. Right then, so let's start, shall we? Where did I find my first wool last year? Well, the first place I went, usual yarn shops. I was thinking I need to start replacing the chunky yarn that I've been using a lot, because the chunky yarn that I had been using was mixed with acrylic, and I did make a decision last year that I wanted to start finding yarn that was generally wool. It was natural fibres. I'd been using yarn from my stash, and that meant I had yarn that was maybe 10, 11 years old, and I was buying the occasional ball of wool to mix with it and use up what was in my stash, but that meant that I was buying yarn from the same manufacturers, from the same brands, and I was just buying more and more acrylic based yarns. And I decided that I wanted to knit primarily with natural fibres. So I went searching, and I was looking for chunky yarn because I do like knitting with chunky yarn. I like making patterns with chunky and Aran and worsted weight yarns. And the place I ended up, which I was not expecting, was a UK department store, John Lewis. Now, John Lewis does have a small variety of branded yarns. I actually found a couple that I really liked, and I started to knit with their main pure wool chunky, and I found a couple of colours that I liked, and I started to knit with them, and you can see the results even just in this. It is a brilliant yarn for definition if you're using a pattern. The knitting cable like this, it's not the softest of yarns, but actually that's a bonus because you can really see the shadows in that cable showing up really clearly, and I love that. It's nice to find a yarn that it doesn't pill. It's a really good quality yarn, and it's easy to knit with. It is right on tension. If you want to knit any kind of chunky pattern with it, then you're going to find a really good match with this. John Lewis does do worldwide delivery, so if you fancy picking this up and just trying it, then I would really suggest just having a go and seeing what you think. And another one of their yarns that I found and I discovered became a favourite was something that I was not expecting to start using, and that was a mohair yarn. Now, I have had a strange relationship with mohair yarn. As a child, I asked my mum to get a jumper knitted for me, and it was a turquoise mohair based yarn with lots of flecks of different colours in it. And when the pattern was on the magazine, I thought, I love that, I really want it. So she helped me choose the wool, and I was in charge. I was really excited about it. But when it was finished and it was knitted, it was so itchy. I really felt so guilty because I ended up not wearing it. So I've avoided mohair yarns for a very long time. But I picked this up and I realised how soft it was. And the fact that mohair was in it, it's wool based with 15% mohair, I think, that did not matter one little bit. I really love the effect when it's knitted up, especially for a larger object when the pattern isn't quite so important. You will see, I'll show you a picture of the winter hat that I designed with it. Just a plain pattern with a little bit of interest around the cuff of the hat, around the ball band, around the hat band, and I really loved the way that it came up. yeah, it's really comfortable to knit with. It's really soft. I love it. And just like the other one, it's good quality yarn. It does not pill. So I would definitely recommend this. If you're thinking about what yarns you might start to use for winter, then take a look at this. It does have a small colour collection, but it does mean that you pick out 2 or 3 bulk colours like I have done here, and they will go together really well. So there isn't so much problem with working out which colours to use, like you might do when there's this massive collection of colours and you have to have a bit of colour knowledge to make sure that they work together well. These go together brilliantly. Pick out 2 or 3 colours from the collection and you're done, you're organised. That's it, you're all ready to start knitting. I really like this and I will be using it as long as they have it probably. I'll just pick out different colours every year again and again and again. Love it. So one other thing that I started knitting with, now this was when we were on holiday in February, I think. Yeah, we had a quick break down in Exeter, and there's a few yarn shops around Exeter, and I said, let's explore, go a little bit further. What can I find if I go and explore a few more yarn shops? And I found this. Now, this does have an acrylic base, and I didn't realise it when I bought it. But if you have children who are learning to knit, I love this. It's an Aran weight yarn, so again, I would really recommend if you've got children who want to start knitting that you start them off with Aran weight yarn, because if they're 8 or 9 maybe, then the needles won't be too big for them to handle. You just get, say, 6-inch needles, maybe 8-inch needles, and they find a stripy yarn is so exciting because this stripes really quickly. All I had was maybe 12 stitches on the needle for this, and zoom, 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 maybe every 8 or 10 rows it was changing colour, and that was really a motivation to keep knitting. Okay, it's really boring, it's garter stitch, all I'm doing is knitting, oh, it's a new colour, and then just the incentive to keep going to wonder what the next colour was going to be, because look at that, it goes from green to red to purple to violet, round to pink, back to red, orange, and back to green. I just love it. It does have, this is Adriafil Zebrino. It does have different colourways, so get excited by it, choose different colours, and I designed this just as a bit of fun. So you've got a tassel on one end, you make a tassel from each end of the ball before you start knitting, and then it will match up with your knitting as you end. You can put one tassel on it that matches, and then as you've started, you obviously made a tassel to start with, and there you go, that's what it starts with. And it's just a bit of fun. It goes around your neck a few times, and if you're much younger then it will probably go around 3 or 4 times. And yeah, I really liked this. It is acrylic based, so it's not the best, but if you've got a young child and you're starting to knit with them, it's a bit of fun. So, you know, make a compromise occasionally. I think it's like 15% wool, 85% acrylic. I love the colours. And 2 more that I found this year in the spring when I was searching. I find it difficult as I design yarn to find a super chunky that is going to be able, that you can look at the pattern and say, I will definitely find a chunky yarn that will work with this, and I can substitute it for different yarns depending on what's available to me. Because super chunky yarn doesn't have such a great standard as other yarns. DK yarn, pretty much on tap. You can say, I need a DK yarn, I'll substitute it, it will work out fine. Not always, but you know, generally speaking, it will work. But when it comes to super chunky, the branding, you can say one super chunky you need to use 9mm needles, another super chunky you need to use 15mm needles, and the tension squares will be completely different. And the rows per 10 centimetres per 4 inch will be completely different as well. But I thought, I'm going to make a super chunky pattern and I'm just going to knit with it. And I love Sublime yarns. I've been knitting with Sublime yarns for probably 10 years, I think, since they started, because I've got some of their very first baby pattern books, and I love it. But Sublime Lola, the super chunky that they came out with a couple of years ago, I love it. It's really comfortable to knit with. It's soft, and it uses, let me double check, I think it's 12mm needles. Yes, it does. There's an average super chunky. I really like it, and it is 100% wool. It comes in 100g balls, which most of those super chunkies do. It's not a bad price. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not ultra expensive either. And I've never grown up to be someone who wears pink, but actually I really love that pink. So yeah, that's great. I've really grown to love this, and I will probably be knitting and creating more patterns with this as the months go by. One last thing I came across this year, and I have been aware of it for many, many years, that is Rowan Cocoon. Now, Rowan Cocoon is just a little bit thicker than your average chunky, and that can be frustrating because you look at it and you go, oh, I have to buy a pattern book because it's Rowan Cocoon. So it's not the easiest things to substitute. But to be perfectly honest, if you're knitting a scarf or you're knitting a hat that doesn't really matter whether it's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than you knit with in the pattern, then I say just go for it. Just, you know, feel the love for the yarn and knit with it just because you like it. Again, it's a yarn with few colours, so you just pick out a few and they work together quite well. It's just like the John Lewis. This is a chunky. This is 6.5mm needles. You can predict it. This is a little bit thicker. It is 80% merino and 20% mohair. But I would say knit something with it that doesn't depend on exact sizing, exact measurements. I love this for scarves, that kind of thing. Or if you're knitting a shawl or a cowl, then I would really love to knit with this. It's comfortable, it's soft, it feels really lovely once it's knitted up. Yeah, and I really did enjoy knitting this. And unlike quite a few balls of chunky yarn that you can come across, it comes in 100g balls, which I find very helpful. So you are paying more for it, but that's because it's 100g rather than 50. So that is my yarn haul from the last few months, and what I was knitting with over the winter, and what I plan to knit with over the next few months as well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Just a little delve into my yarn stash. There it all is, and I'll be getting more of that, and it will be filling up my collection of yarn, and it will be working on my needle as well. Great! Thank you so much for joining me today. Do list anything below that you've loved knitting with. I probably need to tear myself away and not read too many of your comments, but yeah, I don't want to get overwhelmed with so many balls of yarn and so many suggestions. I would love them though, really. Do suggest any natural fibre yarns that you've loved knitting with over the last few months. I'd like to see what I can get ready with for the winter this year. Great. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be here again next Tuesday. If you'd like notifications of that, then click on the subscribe button and hit the little bell. You will then know when the video comes up next Tuesday. Great. I will see you again then. Until then, bye for now. Happy knitting.